Hey, if your construction business feels like there's just too much friction, or if it feels like it's too dependent on you, or you're trying to grow it and it just feels like something's missing, it could be that you're doing the right things in the wrong sequence. A lot of construction business owners feel like they need better people or they need better tools or software technology to fix their business, but that's not the real problem. If you want to systematize your construction business so it runs more smoothly, or so it runs more profitably, or so it runs without you, it's crucial to build it in the right 3-step sequence. That's what we're going to talk about today. You're listening to the Construction Leading Edge podcast from constructionleadingedge.com. And over here, we are all about systematizing your construction business to eliminate chaos and maximize profit, freedom, and impact. My name is Todd DeWalt, spelled Dawalt, and my team and I have helped over 400 construction companies eliminate chaos, grow profits, and grow their team. So let me know if any of this sounds familiar. If you're a construction business owner or you lead a construction business, see if any of this sounds familiar. Something like this: you hired a project manager, or you hired an estimator or a superintendent, but they still come to you with every question that they have. It seems like every problem still lands in your lap. You bought software. You spent a lot of money on software or technology, but it didn't solve the chaos. Maybe it made things worse. As you look around at your team, if you have multiple people in the same role, everybody's doing things differently. You might even say what one person I talked to said: it feels like we're running 3 different companies under one roof because everybody's using their own different software. Estimators are doing things their own way. Superintendents are doing things their own way. It's all different. Maybe you are hiring great people, but these great people flounder because there's something missing. They come in, you have high expectations for them, but something's missing and they flounder. And investing in software, maybe you've invested in multiple types of software. I spoke with a builder who was doing somewhere in the neighborhood of $45 million a year. And he was using a standard project management software for home builders and was frustrated. He had tried a different one, and he was at the point where he was going to hire a developer and spend like $100,000 to build his own software. But he realized, after we worked together, he realized software wasn't the problem. It was the sequence that was missing. So here's the problem with how a lot of construction business owners typically go about systematizing their business, or attempting to. And this is where the friction comes in and why it feels like they're stuck. They start with software, or they start with the technology thinking that will solve the chaos, but they just open up their software and find out it's empty. They hire people hoping that these people will bring systems and processes with them, or hoping these people will build the systems for them, or they assume that the team will naturally just standardize things over time, that it will just organically become systematic, like somehow chaos is going to evolve into business systems. Or they download templates and SOPs from the internet, piecemeal, grab this from here, grab this from there, expecting that these boilerplate templates will fit their unique business, only to find out that they don't. Or they create checklists and tools without first defining the actual workflow that these tools should support. So they're just looking at parts of the business with a microscope, sort of, and saying, oh, we're going to build this little template or this little checklist here, but it doesn't work. And a lot of these things don't work because they're done out of sequence. Here's the problem with how a lot of business coaches and consultants usually try to help construction business owners. Watch out for these. They throw a bunch of boilerplate templates or tools at the problem. They give away, or they sell packages of just take these checklists, take these SOPs, take these job descriptions, and just use them out of the box. Or they deliver these generic best practices, really generic surface level things that don't go deep enough. They don't help their clients actually design a process tailored to their business. A lot of them, I've heard, focus on mindset and motivation, and they're cheerleaders, and they'll say things like, hey, what are you working on today? And the client will say, well, we're working on this process. That's great. Keep it up. What can I do to help hold you accountable? So there's a lot of cheerleader stuff, a lot of mindset and motivation stuff that doesn't really operate, or doesn't really help solve the operational issues in the company. Or they focus on leadership coaching and these high-level concepts, which are great, but what the business owner needs is a system to actually run. They don't need to hear about how discipline equals freedom or something from David Goggins or Jocko Willink or Dave Ramsey. They don't need platitudes. They need systems installed in their business. If any of that sounds familiar, it's very possible that these will also apply. Maybe you feel like you're paying good people, but you're still the bottleneck. You've hired people hoping that they would take work off of you, only to find out that they, in some cases, create more work for you because they're just a couple of more mouths to feed, so to speak, when it comes to answering questions. Maybe you're still using spreadsheets. You piece together this system with Excel and Dropbox or Microsoft Teams and creating schedules on paper or whiteboards because software doesn't fit. You've tried software and you didn't think it worked for you. When it comes to training new hires, your training program can be summarized with, okay, watch me. Just sit here, watch me, look over my shoulder, and try to keep up. Maybe you've had good people leave, or you're concerned that good people are going to leave because the chaos just makes them feel like they're set up to fail. I've spoken with a lot of construction business owners recently, some clients who've been transparent enough to say, we have great people, but we've set them up to fail because we don't have the right systems and tools and processes for them to follow. And maybe a lot of this applies to you. You're probably feeling like you're constantly getting dragged back into the weeds. Every problem lands in your lap. Your phone rings too many times a day. If you were to look at your notifications on your phone, you could get 50, 75, 100 notifications between email, texts, phone calls per day. And if you spread that out over a 10-hour day, that's 10 notifications, 10 interruptions an hour, which is about every 6 minutes, which makes it really hard for you to get anything done. And if you're like a lot of people, if you're in this situation, you start early, you have a to-do list, and then you get into the day-to-day firefighting, things are happening, and the phone's ringing, and problems are landing in your lap. And then you look up and it's 4:00 in the afternoon and you're just brain dead and you don't get anything done. And that goes on week after week, month after month. It's really hard, maybe even impossible to get anything done. So you're concerned about approaching burnout because you've just tried this for so long, and this friction, this turbulence, this resistance, maybe even chaos just seems to always be there. It seems like something's missing. You just can't get traction. You're close, but it feels like something's missing. It's very possible that what's missing is the right sequence. Doing the right steps, just put them in the right sequence. So think about this. Here's what's possible when you do things in the right sequence. Here's what a systematized business looks like. We've interviewed a lot of our clients on this podcast. You can check them out. Actually, if you go to constructionleadingedge.com/results, or just go to our website and click on the results tab, you can listen to a dozen or so of our clients. There are a bunch who've been interviewed on the podcast as well. But here's what they experience after systematizing their business. Their project managers, estimators, crew leads, everybody follows the same process. Everybody's singing from the same sheet of music. And they're not the glue anymore. Their people are accountable for results. Our clients are able to delegate results instead of delegating tasks. Instead of telling people every little move to make, they're able to hold people accountable for results and delegate results. Their software actually supports their business and their workflow. Instead of working against their software, it feels like the software supports them, and everybody uses it because it works. They're able to bring on new hires and onboard and ramp them up because they have a process to follow. They're confident. New hires become productive much faster. Their retention rate goes up dramatically because they know what their job is, and they know what to do, and they know how to do it. And our clients are able to be free to think strategically. Their phone calls go down dramatically. They're able to travel and take a real vacation. They can go away for a week at a time. We've had clients who are able to go to Europe for 2 weeks at a time. We have clients who are able to travel 16 weeks a year. while the business runs. And we have clients who are able to go build something else. They're able to get into real estate investing. They're able to start nonprofits and do things, maybe even have hobbies. It's because they have a team that's running smoothly. They have this company, this business that's running like a machine, because this machine is designed to run without them. Hey, it's Todd, and we'll get back to the episode in just a minute, but let me ask you something. Have you ever signed a contract and then everything starts to feel a little bit chaotic? Questions fly around like, who's ordering what? When does the job actually start? Is the team ready? Did anybody order this material? Has this been approved yet? Project starts to feel like a fire drill, right? Well, the biggest problem in most construction businesses isn't a lack of effort. It's not the people. It's not the projects. It's not the clients. It's not you. It's the gaps in your process. Gaps where details fall through the cracks, where nobody's sure what to do, who's doing what, when it gets done, and you, the owner, end up filling in all those gaps, right? When there are questions, who they got to call? If there's a problem, it's going to land in your lap. And the biggest gap is pre-construction. And the solution is simple. Nailing the handoff from sales to construction. Nail the handoff from the office to the field. Your projects are like a relay race, and there's a baton that needs to be handed off. Nailing the handoff is a well-designed pre-construction process that closes those gaps, eliminates the chaos, and gives you back control. It gives you back the time so you can work on the business instead of being buried in it. And we can help you build that process. The first step is to book a free business evaluation call with our team. On your business evaluation call, here's what we're going to help you do. Spot the real gaps that are creating the chaos, show you how to nail the handoff and how doing that will put you back in control of your business. We'll even uncover some of the hidden profit that's already in your business. And if it makes sense, we'll talk about how we can help you build a business that runs without you. Click the link in the show notes to schedule your call. Be advised, we only have a few spots available each week, and not everybody qualifies for this call. This is not for everybody. So if you have a wave of work coming at you, or you're planning on growing and hiring people, now's the time to close those gaps with a good pre-construction process. If you're ready to stop reacting and finally take control, this is your next step. Go book your free business evaluation call with my team today. There's a fundamental flaw with a lot of construction businesses. A lot of construction businesses are unintentionally designed to fail without the business owner. The business is designed around the owner, and that is a fundamental flaw. So if you want to experience freedom, if you want your business to grow, if you want your business to be more profitable, maybe you don't want your business to grow, you just want more freedom, then it's crucial that, first of all, you design your business to run without you, and then two, that you put these systems and processes in place in the right sequence. So here is the 3-step sequence that's crucial to systematizing your business, all right? Process, tools, then people. It's process, tools, people. Process first. Design and document exactly how you want things done. This is not an exercise in documenting how you're currently doing things, because if you're experiencing friction and profit bleeds and a lack of freedom, we want to fix that. So design your process to run just the way you want it to run, to actually eliminate those problems. Second, tools. Build, create, or select the tools to execute those processes. We'll talk more about this, give some examples. People are third. Hire and train the people to run the system you've created, and put the accountability systems in place to make people accountable. So that's the 3-step process. The 3-step sequence is process, tools, people. Here's how you should do it. Start by designing and documenting the process. Then build out your tools and your software stack to support your process. Then train people after the process and the tools are in place. And this creates a repeatable workflow that aligns with your team. So any part of your business where you're experiencing friction, start by applying this 3-step sequence: process, tools, people. So if you're wondering, what does this look like and where should you start? I'll give it to you. All right, here's where we start with our clients. Which process should you start with? Do you need to start at the very beginning? of the process, like with the sales process? Do you need to start at the end with closeout and punch lists? Here's the key. Start with pre-construction. Start with pre-construction. This is the phase of the project leading up to where you hand off a project to your construction team. Okay? This pre-construction process is what I call the secret profit phase. I've worked with companies doing hundreds of millions of dollars a year back when I was doing real estate development. I worked with companies that were doing over $1 billion a year, very large commercial general contractors building complex projects, $20 million, $30 million, $70 million projects. And the big boys and girls, they obsess over pre-construction because they know that's where schedules are made. That's where margins are made. That's where customer experience is made or lost. Fortunately, a lot of small companies that I've talked to, they don't know the pre-construction phase exists. They go from sales to let's start construction. And they immediately get into what I call the just enough to start trap, doing just enough to get to the next step, saying, we don't need to figure all that stuff out now. Let's do just enough. We'll figure out the rest later. That's a trap. That's why it's called the just enough to start trap. So start with pre-construction because good construction companies are great at pre-construction. When you get the pre-construction process dialed in, the construction is easy. When you get the pre-construction part, when you nail the handoff from the office to the field, and you do a great job at pre-construction, it makes construction very easy. So here's what it looks like. Process, tools, people. Let's look at the process step. Design your process the way that you want it to be to solve your problems. Think about what are the problems you're having on your projects, and then ask the question, what would it take to solve this? What can we do upstream of this problem in our pre-construction process? Think about problems like schedule delays, profit bleeds, rework, details falling through the cracks, missing selections, scope gaps. Oh, we forgot to order this. Client indecision, selections that happened too late in the game. And think, what would it take to solve that? And then let's go design your pre-construction process to solve that. And why we focus on pre-construction is because that's where 80% of the profit bleeds can be traced back to, 80% of the friction in your processes can be traced back to a solid pre-construction process. Okay? Design your pre-construction process step by step. And we have a proprietary method that we use that we guide our clients through to design your pre-construction process. And if you work with us, we'll bring to bear the best practices we've learned from helping a few hundred people design their pre-construction process. So once you have your process designed step by step, the next in the sequence is tools, right? So while designing your process, maybe you'll say something like, we are constantly having problems with missing details on architectural drawings. Let's say you're a home builder, remodeler, and you're frustrated at the lack of quality and the missing details on the drawings that you receive from the architect, whether the architect works for the client, works for you, whatever. So what if, instead of being frustrated every time you get a set of plans, what if instead of bitching and moaning every time you get a set of plans saying the same thing, what if we did something about it and you thought, what would it take to maybe head this off? What would it take to be a little proactive here? And you might say, what if we gave every architect we work with a checklist of what we need up front? And we call it our design standards. Another option, I ran into this a long time ago when I was an estimator. My compadres in the estimating department would just send out sets of plans to all the trades on, these were commercial projects, $3 to $10 million projects. And every time they were frustrated because every millwork subcontractor priced things a little differently. Every flooring contractor, every painter, and there was all of this bid leveling that was required. And I looked at it and said, that's crazy. So I put together bid packages. And I said, I'm going to put together a millwork bid package, a painting bid package, an electrical bid package, HVAC bid package that lists the scope I want you to include and the scope I want them to exclude. And that way, I was proactively pushing information out to them. And you know what that did? That made bid day a lot simpler. There was very little bid leveling because they knew exactly what I wanted up front. So instead of Here's what I see a lot. You get a set of drawings, you get a bid from a subcontractor, you get something from a client. And what I see a lot is a lot of complaining, a lot of bitching and moaning about why they can't get it right. And every time this is difficult. And instead of that, let's go upstream and ask, what would it take to solve this, to prevent this? Hey, it's Todd. We'll get back to the episode in just a minute. If you're thinking about growing your construction business, maybe you've been wondering things like, how do I know if my business can handle more work without falling apart? Is now the right time to grow, or should we just stay where we're at? Am I missing something that could blow up if I scale too fast? Do I have the right structure in place to support growth and to be able to grow safely? Maybe you're worried about burning out your team or burning out yourself. You're worried about winning more work, but then losing control of the quality and having that hurt your reputation. Maybe you're concerned about getting stuck in more chaos, having more problems instead of having more freedom, or finding out too late that your systems just weren't strong enough to handle the growth. Well, here's what's surprising. A company studied why successful contractors fail, and they found out two things. Number one, contractors don't starve to death. They get too much work too fast with inadequate resources, and then they run out of cash. The second thing that they learned after studying a couple of hundred successful contractors that failed is that contractors are actually more likely to go bankrupt during a growing economy than during a downturn. So how do you know if your business is ready to scale? How do you know when it's time to hire more team members, to go after another market, to sell more work? Well, that's a big question that a lot of people are grappling with. It's a question I get a lot. So that's why I created an assessment tool to help you answer the question, is your construction business ready to scale? This assessment is free, it's online, and you'll get a customized report showing exactly where your business is strong and where the hidden gaps are that could trip you up. It's the fastest way to get clarity before you put your business and your future at risk. So if you want to take the free assessment to find out, is your construction business ready to scale? The link is in the show notes. So put together a design standards document, a checklist of what you want. Put together bid packages for your key trades. Tell them what you want them to price. All right, so that's a step in the process. Let's say the design standards or the bid description. We'll call it a bid package for specific trades. Now you need to create the tool, the actual document, the actual template. Because it's one thing to say, let's say you hire an estimator and you say, look, we need to put together some design standards. The estimator says, that's a fantastic idea. What do you want? And then if you expect the estimator to do that, they're probably going to struggle. So your job as the leader is to create that tool and give it to your team. So the process is designed and documented. Now it's time to build that tool, actually build the template. Here is what needs to be in the design standards. Let's get the team together, hammer out the design standards checklist. Let's hammer out the template for the bid package that we want to send out. Create the tool for your team. Then the third step in the sequence, we have the process, we have the tool. The third step is people. So the process is designed and documented. The tools are created. Next is to map that process to somebody's job description and their metrics so it's clear who is accountable for those results. If it's clearly a part of the estimator's scope to send the design standards, if it's clearly a part of the estimator's job description to put together bid packages for key trades, then that needs to be on their job description. It needs to be tracked, and they need to be held accountable for this. Okay. The next step after building the process, building the tools, is to map that process and that step and that tool to somebody's job description and their metrics so they're clear on who's accountable for it. There also needs to be a training component to show that person how to do their job. They need to know, how do you actually do this? What buttons do you actually click? What are the words you say? What are the to-dos? What are the to-don'ts? What are the hot buttons? What are the things to watch out for? There's a training component to that. Even if this is for an existing role, there needs to be a training component. And if this is a new role, then there has to be an onboarding and training process for them to follow. Here's what I would challenge you to do. Take a Post-it note. We love Post-it notes. If you've ever worked with us, you'll know how much we love Post-it notes. And write this question on a Post-it note Here's the question. How can I make this the last time I answer this question? How can I make this the last time I answer this question? Write that on a Post-it note, put it on your screen or somewhere you can look at it, and then that becomes the lens that you operate through. Somebody asks you a question, think, how can I make this the last time I answer this question? How can I put this in my process? What's a tool I can create? What's a training video I can record and put it in my playbook? We use a "this is how we do it" playbook so that when somebody asks a question, you can literally say to them, that's a great question. What does the playbook tell you to do? And they can say, you're right. Thanks, boss. Playbook has the process. Playbook has the tools. The playbook has step-by-step instructions. It has a training video that you recorded for us. You answered that question one last time. High five. Out of your office they go. So, 3-step sequence: process, tools, people. Here's a couple of examples of what happens when things are done out of sequence. We worked with a contractor who hired their team first and then came to us, and they ended up with 3 project managers running basically 3 different businesses. Every project was run differently. Everything was done differently. The reporting was done differently. The schedules were done differently. The interaction with customers was done differently. It was all different, very inconsistent. Another contractor we worked with bought some very expensive software. It seemed to be the industry standard, so they bought the software, but then they found out that the software was not good at issuing purchase orders, which they realized it was crucial to their business. Once they designed their process, they said, we have got to use purchase orders. And they realized that the software was not good at issuing purchase orders. And then they spent months trying to make it work, and then they had to switch over to a different software. This is something we see a lot. People start with software, and then they take their current processes and dump it into the software, and they realize this didn't help any. They come to us, we help them design their process, and they almost 100% of the time say, I wish we would have come to you before we invested in this software so that we could have designed the process and then built this new process into our software. Another general contractor hired a pretty high-level project manager expecting that the PM would develop the process or maybe bring the process with them, but it didn't work for a couple of reasons. One, the PM was great at running a process and using tools that were provided to them, but creating tools was not their forte. The other thing was the PM was so busy dealing with day-to-day firefighting from the lack of processes and tools, they just couldn't do it. It was impossible. They didn't have the bandwidth to do that. To recap, the right way to systematize your business so it works is process, tools, and people. What you need isn't another hire. You don't need to hire a unicorn. You don't need to find that software, that special unicorn software that will do exactly what you need. Frankly, what you need is you need a diagnostic. All right. You need a third-party objective view. You need to find out what's really causing the chaos in your business. I've been contacted by several people saying there's something missing. We've got great people. We have great projects. We've got plenty of backlog, but something's missing. We just need an outside perspective. So that's what we'll do in a free business evaluation call with you. My team will get on a Zoom call with you. We'll send you some questions in advance. We will walk you through a proven framework. We'll help you uncover the real problems in your business, the real root causes of those problems, and then map out a roadmap for you of this is what you need to do to solve it. It'll be a customized roadmap. And if it makes sense, if it looks like we can help you, and it makes sense to talk about our systematized your construction business program, then we can talk about what that looks like. But just to be transparent, we only work with about 30 or 40% of the people that we talk to. So it's not right for everybody, and that's okay. Either way, we'll try to leave you better than we found you. So if you own a construction business, you're doing over $1 million in revenue, and you want to systematize your business in the right sequence to take the path of least resistance to get to from where you're at today to where you want to be, to have more freedom, more impact, more profit, more wealth, then we have a proven system to help you get there. So if that's you, then go to the show notes. There's a link in the show notes to schedule a call, or you can go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply, apply. Stop scaling the chaos. Let's start building the business that you want. Let's give you the path of least resistance to get from where you're at today to where you want to be. And it all starts with a detailed assessment of where you're at and what it's going to take to get there. And that's what we'll help you with. So go to constructionleadingedge.com/apply. If that's you, get your call scheduled. We have limited availability on the calendar. And again, we're not right for everybody. One last thing, we are all about taking action here. So here's my challenge for you. What is your 5-minute action item? What is one thing that'll take you 5 minutes or less to help you get started taking action on this topic that we talked about? What is your 5-minute action item? And before you go, if you've been enjoying this podcast or getting value out of it, I've got a quick favor to ask of you. Could you take a moment to leave a 5-star rating and maybe a short review on the podcast player that you're listening to this on? Maybe Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If it's on YouTube, if you could leave a rating, review, or subscribe, that would be great. It really helps the podcast grow and lets other people know what to expect. Plus, I love hearing your feedback. It means a lot to me. So my name is Todd DeWalt from constructionleadingedge.com. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you in the next episode.